The hospital was eerily quiet during the night shift. The hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional beeping of monitors were the only sounds in the deserted corridors. Emma, a seasoned nurse with 12 years of experience, leaned back in her chair at the nurse's station. Her fingers absent-mindedly tapped against her coffee mug as she stared at the stack of paperwork before her. She had worked countless nights like this, but tonight felt heavier, lonelier. As she reached into her desk drawer for a pen, her hand brushed against something unfamiliar. Frowning, she pulled out a yellowed envelope, its edges frayed with age. There was no name or address on it, just the words, "To someone who cares," scrawled in shaky handwriting. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Where had this come from? And why had it been left here? Her fingers trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded carefully. The moment she began reading, her world shifted. The words on the page were raw, heartfelt, and filled with a pain she could almost feel. By the time she reached the end, tears streamed down her face, and she realized this letter wasn't just a message from the past. It was a plea for help that had gone unanswered. Emma had always been drawn to helping others. As a child, she would bandage her stuffed animals and dream of becoming a nurse. Her mother often said, "Emma, you have a heart too big for this world." That big heart led her to a career in nursing, where she dedicated herself to caring for those in their most vulnerable moments. But her job wasn't without its toll. Over the years, Emma had seen joy and heartbreak in equal measure. She celebrated births and mourned losses, holding hands with patients who had no one else. Her colleagues admired her strength, but few knew the emotional burden she carried. The sleepless nights, the faces she couldn't forget, and the quiet moments when doubt crept in, all of it weighed on her. Lately, Emma had been feeling more burned out than usual. The pandemic had stretched the hospital staff thin, and the endless wave of patients left little time for breaks or reflection. She often questioned whether she was making a difference anymore. Was her work truly helping anyone? Or was she just another cog in a relentless machine? It was during one of these introspective nights that she discovered the letter. At first, she thought it might have been misplaced or left behind by accident. But as she read its contents, she realized it was much more than that. The letter was dated 1985 and written by a patient named Mary Whitaker. Emma didn't recognize the name, but the emotions poured into the letter felt immediate, as if Mary were speaking directly to her. The letter began, "Dear someone who cares, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer here. I don't know who you are, but I'm writing in the hope that someone someday will find this and understand my story. I came to this hospital because I had nowhere else to go. I was alone, scared, and tired. The doctors said they'd do their best, but I knew my time was running out. I've spent most of my life invisible. No family, no friends, just drifting through the days. But something changed when I came here. There was a nurse. I never learned her name, who treated me like I mattered. She smiled at me, held my hand when the pain was too much, and told me I wasn't alone. I wish I could have told her how much that meant to me, but I didn't know how. So I'm writing this letter, hoping it will reach someone like her. Please, whoever you are, know that your kindness matters. It saved me, even if only for a little while." Emma's chest tightened as she read Mary's words. She could picture the scene vividly, a lonely woman finding solace in the smallest acts of kindness. But what struck Emma most was the thought that this letter had been sitting in her desk forgotten, for who knew how long. She couldn't shake the feeling that Mary's story wasn't over yet, that there was something she was meant to do. Emma decided she needed to learn more about Mary Whitaker. She started by searching the hospital's archives, hoping to find records from 1985. It wasn't easy. Most of the files had been digitized only in the past decade, and older records were stored in dusty boxes in the basement. After hours of searching, she found a thin file labeled Mary Whitaker. Inside, Emma discovered that Mary had been admitted to the hospital in November 1985 with a terminal illness. She had no emergency contacts listed, No visitors recorded and no discharge notes. The final entry simply stated, deceased. November 25th, 1985. Emma's heart ached at the thought of Mary dying alone, her only connection to the world being a nameless nurse who had shown her compassion. But as Emma dug deeper, she uncovered something unexpected. Mary had left behind a small box of belongings, which had been placed in storage and forgotten over the years. Emma retrieved the box and carefully opened it. Inside, she found a few personal items. An old photograph of a young Mary standing in a garden, a worn-out diary, and a locket with the initials M.W. engraved on it. Flipping through the diary, Emma discovered entries that painted a picture of a life marked by hardship and resilience. Mary wrote about losing her parents at a young age, struggling to make ends meet, and finding brief moments of joy in gardening and reading. One entry stood out. November 20th, 1985. Today, the nurse held my hand and told me I was brave. No one has ever said that to me before. For the first time in years, I feel seen. If only I could thank her. Emma's tears flowed freely as she read Mary's words. She realized that the connection Mary felt to the unnamed nurse was the same connection Emma strived to create with her patients. It was a reminder of why she had chosen this path, even when the weight of it seemed unbearable. Determined to honor Mary's memory, Emma decided to do something special. She reached out to her colleagues and shared Mary's story, asking for their help in creating a memorial garden at the hospital. The idea was to provide a space where patients, families, and staff could find solace and remember the importance of kindness and connection. The response was overwhelming. Nurses, doctors, and even former patients came together to contribute time, money, and resources. Within weeks, a small, neglected courtyard was transformed into a beautiful garden filled with flowers, benches, and a plaque that read, "In memory of Mary Whitaker and all those who found comfort here. Your stories matter." On the day of the garden's unveiling, Emma held the locket she had found in Mary's box. She placed it in a small glass case near the plaque, a symbol of the woman whose story had inspired it all. As she looked around at the faces of those gathered, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. Mary's legacy was no longer one of loneliness, but of hope and connection. The garden became a cherished space within the hospital, a reminder of the power of compassion. Patients found peace there, families shared quiet moments, and staff took breaks to reflect on why they did what they did. For Emma, the experience was transformative. She no longer questioned whether her work mattered. She knew it did. Every smile, every kind word, and every small gesture had the potential to change someone's world, just as it had for Mary. And in honoring Mary's story, Emma found healing for herself. If Mary's story touched your heart, share this video to spread the message of kindness and connection. Remember, even the smallest act of compassion can leave a lasting impact. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Echo Tales for more stories that remind us of the beauty in humanity. Together, let's create a ripple of kindness that reaches far and wide.